Welcoming back Paul Bradley here to the MMA Oddsbreaker. Had a no contest in NC against Chris Honeycutt his last time out at Bellator 140. Before that, pretty easily beat Josh Neer,
Yep.
from what I understand. It didn't. I mean, it looked like an easy fight from the couch.
Right.
So
Right.
let's be honest. Being in there is a lot different. So it's 2 fights ago, the Josh Neer fight. How did you feel during that Josh Neer fight?
I'll be honest, it was one of my easier fights, like you said. I expected Josh to, be a little stronger on his takedown defense, and I don't know what his game plan was, but from the grapevine, I heard, I guess he thought he was going to submit me or something. So, I mean, that wasn't going to work out. And once he started his antics, it was like, man, it was kind of like I knew I'd broken him after the first one. He just laid on the canvas after I got up and walked to my corner. So yeah, I mean, it definitely was one of the easier fights for me, and I don't think Josh fought to his potential at all. But I mean, yeah, went in there and just grounded him out and just kept pressure.
Did you take any damage in that fight, in the Neer fight?
I took a small cut above my left eye, I think, just from an elbow from his back. That was about it.
Well, the reason why I'm asking because you're mentioning it was such an easy fight. You
Yep.
just took a small cut, so it wasn't like any
Yep.
long term damage, or whatever. But it was October 2014 was the near fight, and you didn't
Yep.
fight Honeycutt until July of 2017. It seems like a really long layoff. You seem like a guy that would like to fight more than just twice a year, and that was like an 8 month layoff. Like, was there a reason why there was such a long layoff, or was it something else going on, like in your personal life that we don't know about that made you have to wait a little bit longer?
No, I think it literally had to do with the Honeycutt timeline. He fought in February, and then he wasn't going to be ready to fight until July. So I guess I was on his timeline, which, whatever, what do you do? But yeah, I wasn't too happy about it, to say the least. So
It does put you in a difficult situation
Yep.
because one monetarily wise, you're trying to figure out your bills and you don't really get that big payday that you'll fight, but also too trying to figure out train camps and when to start training because there was a rumor that that fight was going to go off April or May, right? Like right after
Yeah.
because he didn't take any damage in his previous fight and was like, oh, he can turn around very quickly, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's supposed to be May, and then it got pushed to July. That's a big break. Was there any frustration on your part of maybe Chris is trying to play a game with me and make me stall a bit longer, or Bellator wasn't sure what they were doing. Was there any sense of that on your end as that fight was coming together?
well, like I said, I just think I'm on his timeline. Apparently, you know, uh, it goes by what he wants. He's one of the Golden Boys, so it's like, what do you do? It's like I'm here to fight, man. I'm a veteran, and this kid's trying to make a name off me, so I wasn't very happy that they made me wait, but it is what it is. What can I do? Sit there and argue with them and fight with them and get on bad terms? So
So in that fight in July, you guys jump in second round, about the 3 minute mark. It ends up being a no contest due to accidental clash of heads. John McCarthy was the ref at the time, so I've always said when you're fighting your opponent, but you're also battling the referee because you have to know what the referee is going to do and how he's going to react. Whatever. Of course, John is the best ref or one of the best ref, depending on your opinion. Him and Herb Dean are obviously the top two. So you had the best ref you could possibly
Yep.
have in your fight. How was
Right.
everything preparing up for that fight, train camp wise and preparation? Like before you walked into the cage, how was everything prepared, getting ready to go in for that fight with Honeycutt?
everything was good. My weight was on point. Training camp went real well. I felt like I was in the best wrestling shape I've been in for a long, long time. I think it showed in the fight when he couldn't take me down. But yeah, that wasn't John's call to have it stopped in the second. He actually pleaded for them. Oh, let's let him go a little bit and see how it goes. But for whatever reason, that doctor, he didn't even get to me, and he already started calling the fight. I'm like, dude, like, you give me a shot, like, you haven't even got to me yet. You're standing at the cage door and you're waving your hands like, no, I think we can't do this. So I don't know. I guess the doctor's thought process was, I guess he thought it could possibly cut down more and go all the way down my forehead, which maybe not though. So I guess we'll never know.
Full disclosure, when it comes to reffing, I am reffing now, mixed martial arts, and John McCarthy and Herb Dean, both are my mentors in the sport.
Yep.
Right after your fight happened, I called John to find out what happened. I wasn't there live. I'm at home watching it on TV, and on TV you miss a lot of stuff that's going on off camera, behind camera. And I was asking John kind of what happened during that situation, because I thought that he had waved it off, because we missed the doctor waving it until the replay. And he was like, no, I wanted to go a little bit longer because I didn't think the cuts were that bad, but the doctor says we have to stop it. I'm not a medical professional. I've got to stop it. So it's a weird position for the ref, because he's the one that has to stand in there and wave it off. He's the one that has to go in there and take the camera angle. And I was like, oh, geez, the referee. So even you said, like, look, and I believed from the angle of the cut that looked like on TV, at least let it go a little bit longer, or at least now that I know the doctor didn't even check you before it was shut down. At least take a look at the athlete. Let's find out how deep this thing is, because the fight could have went on. It wasn't going to stop the fight. A little bit of disappointment I can hear in your voice. Like, that thing, it ends up being a no contest. So it doesn't hurt your record in any way, but still, it would have been a nice fight to kind of get a victory out of. Correct?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. The first round, I'll give that to him. He I defended a lot of takedowns. I gave him way too much respect on his wrestling, but if you saw the fight, you could see the tide starting to turn in the second when he couldn't take me down. Started doing the clock watching and just kept lowering that head, man. He got me in the first on the left side of my eyebrow with a headbutt, and then sure enough, he got me in the second. When I started throwing the hands and tagging him up a little bit, he kept dropping that head, and he just got a little bit lower than me and popped me right above my scalp. So you give him the first round. Would you give yourself the second round? Would you give him the second round without the clash of heads and stopping at that point? If the round had ended at that point, who do you think would have been winning the round? I guarantee you. I'm not a judge, but I had the takedown. I had the better strikes. I was landing. I was backing him up. That's what it takes against him. You just got to take the center. I know that now. He's a bully, and if you just come back at him, he don't like it. I think that showed, and he started getting a little desperate, diving for the takedowns in the second. Like I said, I was stopping him, and it was just an unfortunate thing. He got a little bit underneath me. I believe I was getting ready to throw a right hand, and he stepped under, and boom, there went my head, so.
And momentum is everything in MMA. So if you lose the first round and you're on your way to winning the second round, I got to check with Reed over at Fightonomics, but I think that if you start getting the momentum of going into the second round, that you tend to win the third round, more often than not, if the momentum is going your direction. So I got to check the stats on that one before I say it officially, but I believe that's correct, that going into the second round, if you're winning, and then you can pull off the third, which means you're well on your way to winning that fight. So now here we are, November 12th. During this interview, the date of this interview, your next scheduled fight, which hasn't been announced yet, so this interview won't come out until the announcement of that fight, as per the rules, is going to be January 29th against Chris Honeycutt. You know who your opponent is. You've been in there for over a round and a half with him, so more than over a half a fight. You said already, you know that he's a bully. You've got to back him up. You got to push him. What is training like? You're not. I don't believe you are. I could be wrong. You're not in the middle of hard training camp just yet, but you are training. So you do have Chris Honeycutt's face in front of you every time you're hitting mitts. So you've already got that. I know who my opponent is. I know where I'm going. What's training like right now at this very early stage of training camp?
Just all specifics, man. Working different kicks. I know what I need to do to disrupt him. Different combos, stepping to the side, and it's all specific stuff right now. Nothing crazy on the pads yet, because we don't need that yet. But literally little specific things he does that I'm gonna exploit, and I'm gonna stop his momentum that way. So
take me through. I want to ask you about your sparring. How much do you spar per week during the hard portion of your training camp?
Okay, during training camp, it's twice a week, but right now it's 1 day a week. You've seen we've heard about all this stuff in the media about people sparring too hard and getting hurt. So, Alliance, we take a more conservative approach until we get into heavy fight camp. Then it's twice a week, but right now it's just 1 day a week, and literally every sparring session, there's a goal that I have in mind of what I need to do, whether it be take this guy down 2 or 3 times in the round, or or kick him 3 or 4 times in the leg. But yeah, right now it's just literally everything I do for sparring is geared towards him. So it's about getting better and just working off that last fight and building. So
what do you wear during your sparring sessions?
well, I pretty much wear everything. The headgear, the knee pads, because I throw a lot of knees, and you don't want to hurt your sparring partners. Shin guards, big gloves, and then the headgear. But honestly, I don't like the headgear a lot. The only reason I wear it is for the cuts. I think it gives you like a big, gives you a false sense of security a little bit too. Like, okay, well, I just got hit hard with that punch. I didn't do nothing well. Take the headgear off, and it could be a different story. So. I don't like wearing the headgear, but like I said, during camp, I make sure to wear it just because I don't want to take another headbutt and be out of sparring. That happened before the Koi fight. I was sparring hard and took a bad headbutt, or I can't remember, maybe a knee off a shot, and it took me out of sparring for up to 2 weeks before the fight. So.
And going back to the Koi fight, was that one of the reasons why you ended up losing that decision? Is because you had to take so much time off from your actual training camp?
No, I don't. I don't think it was that. I just think a combination of things. I got staffed during that camp. I had a cut. I got there was something else. I can't remember. I got hurt or something. But it was just a crappy training camp. And it's And I'll be honest. I'd already beaten him, so maybe I didn't have the motivation I needed. And yeah, I think a big thing about it was I was overtraining. I was doing strength and conditioning 3-4 times a week instead of listening to my strength coach George Castro saying, "Hey, this is the plan, 2 days a week." But I had that mindset. Just I got to keep moving. I got to keep working. I got to do more, and more isn't always better. Sometimes less is better, and especially as we get older as fighters, we start to realize our bodies don't recover like they used to. So I took that into consideration, and that's why I felt last fight was best shape I've ever been in. So.
Last series of questions before I let you out of here. Alliance MMA had Neil Melanson left Alliance and went to where is he now? Black Zillions down in Florida. Michael Chandler and Miles Jury moved down to Arizona, and it's I don't want to say a mass exodus like there was Extreme Couture where all the pros left at one time in Las Vegas, but there was an exodus of some name guys that left Alliance. What's the attitude like, and what's the energy like in there right now then? With after this, it's been a couple months since all this has happened. You guys had more than enough time to regroup. So what's it like now inside the gym?
It's good. We're a family. Speaking on Neil, it sucks. He was a mentor. He works very well with wrestlers, as you know. It's crappy. Those guys leaving though, I still stay in contact. I'm still friends, but dude, those guys are looking for the magic pill. Everyone thinks, the grass is always greener on the other side. And, if they take a loss or something, all of a sudden, oh, well, it's my coaches, it's this, it's that, so it's like, dude, you win on your own, you lose on your own. Don't be placing blame on other people because, you didn't perform that night. So, like I said, I wish nothing but the best for those guys, but I think a lot of the blame was placed on the coaches where that didn't need to be, so.
It was guys either doing not enough work or too much work, and everybody's different. You and I could be in the exact same training camp, and we'd have to have completely different schedules because of just how our bodies react. And we get that. Being older, we get that because we've been there in that kind of situation.
Yep.
So there's no plan for you to get up and move away from Alliance, obviously. You've been there for a long time and are staying put. So who's your training partners now then, trying to get you ready, because you already know that December 29th, you've got Honeycutt coming up.
Yeah, I got a kid by the name of Chance, a good wrestler, big guy, strong guy. We got Phil Davis down here, a couple other good guys. I went to when I thought I was fighting December 4th and had signed my contract to rematch Honeycutt. I actually went out to University of Illinois, trained with their wrestling team. Man, it was tough. Good friend out there, Mark Perry, is the head assistant coach. So he brought me out there, and I got to train with the regional training center guys, and it was awesome, and it kind of sucks because I kind of feel like, I got better out there, but it was kind of a wasted trip because it was kind of my pre-camp trip until I started the hard camp. So, the plan is hopefully I can get out there before this next fight, maybe in the middle or at the very beginning, because I mean those kids are beasts, man, and you wrestle with those guys, man. You can't do anything but get better and get in better shape too. So
it's either that or get thrown against the wall and get rolled off.
Exactly, and it was good too because Mark formulated a lot of the practices around me with cage work and stuff, and even though Mark's a wrestling coach, man, you'll never meet another wrestling coach that analyzes MMA more than him. I mean, dude, we sit there at his house, and after every practice, that's all he wants to do is watch UFC Fight Pass or something. Oh, well, look at McGregor's kicks. Oh, that doesn't look like much against Mendez, but you see how it's taking the wind out of him. And I'm like, I mean, Mark, man, you're pretty good at this, maybe when you're done coaching college wrestling or whatever, maybe this is the right game for you, so he's super helpful, super motivating, and I got to train in a room with Isaiah Martinez. I don't know if you heard about his father passing, but I mean, that just puts a lot of things into perspective, man. And the intensity from that kid, man, I've never seen it before. So it was just a great environment, great room to be in. And like I said, hopefully I can get back in there before this next fight. So
that's awesome. That's really good. He went up to the University of Illinois. I'm glad that the wrestling program is still doing very well. I mean, they have a great wrestling program up there. Last question before I let you out of here. Why the move from December 4th to January 29th?
Be honest, I mean, it's in his backyard in Fresno, and from what they told me, they need us to carry the show. So I don't know. It is I don't know. Whatever. I'm happy with going right in his backyard and ruining his parade. I'm sick of listening to this kid. He's young. He's immature. He thinks he knows everything. And his last prediction was what he was going to take me down in the first and ground me out. How'd that work out for him? So we'll see, bud. You can keep talking, but this old veteran still has a little bit of fight in him. So
nice. That's Paul Bradley getting ready to fight Chris Honeycutt coming up on January 29th. Paul, we'll be talking again. Just right after, probably halfway through training camp. We'll do it again. I want to see, we see where you are right now before training camp starts. And I want to see how bruised up and black-eyed and sore and tired you are about halfway through, so we can sit down and talk about how training camp is going at that point.
Absolutely. You'll see a different animal, man, a little more slimmed down, a little more mean. And as training camp goes on, man, I treat it like I'm going to war, Veterans Day was yesterday, and I can't even imagine what it takes to be one of those guys. But I treat it like that. Training camp is literally like my boot camp, getting ready to go to war. And like I said, you can't really compare it to that, but like the whole mindset change, I get meaner, a little more agitated, and unfortunately for sparring partners, I don't take it very easy, and it gets a little more brutal. So
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it so much, buddy. We'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks for having me, man.